The champagne glass made a satisfying clink when my wedding ring hit the bottom. Mira's laughter died in her throat as she stared down at the gold band sinking through the bubbles like a stone through lake water. "What are you doing?" she whispered, but I was already turning away from her circle of real estate friends at the Lakeridge Country Club's annual charity auction. "You said you could leave me right now," I called back over my shoulder, not bothering to lower my voice. "So go ahead." The entire conversation had started innocently enough. Mira was holding court near the silent auction table, her voice carrying that particular pitch it got when she'd had 3 glasses of wine and wanted to impress people. I'd been standing behind her, invisible as always at these events, when she launched into her favorite topic: how she could do so much better than her blue-collar husband. "Honestly, girls, sometimes I wonder what I was thinking," she'd said, gesturing with her glass. "Colby's sweet and all, but he runs a handyman business." "A handyman business? I'm selling million-dollar lake properties, and he's unclogging toilets." Her friends had made sympathetic noises. Jennifer Walsh, whose husband owned 3 auto dealerships, had patted Mira's arm. "You're still young, honey. It's not too late to make changes." "I know, right? I could walk away from this marriage tonight and have a better life by morning. Hell, I could leave him right now and not miss a step." That's when I'd stepped forward, dropped the ring in her glass, and delivered my line. The look on her face was worth every penny I'd spent on that ring 8 years ago. Now I was walking through the parking lot toward my truck, listening to the gravel crunch under my boots. Behind me, I could hear the murmur of voices rising as word spread through the party. Mira would be scrambling to control the narrative, but the damage was done. In a town like Lakeridge, gossip traveled faster than broadband internet. My phone buzzed before I reached the truck. A text from Mira. "Colby, what the hell? Come back inside right now. We need to talk." I deleted it without responding and climbed into my Ford F-150. The engine turned over with a reliable rumble that reminded me why I preferred machines to people. Machines were honest. When they broke, they didn't pretend everything was fine while shopping around for a replacement. The drive home took 12 minutes through the quiet streets of our neighborhood. Lakeridge had been a thriving lake town once, back when the auto plants were running full shifts and people had money for vacation homes. Now it was mostly retirees and folks like me who couldn't afford to leave. The houses were well-maintained but tired, like middle-aged men trying to look younger than their years. Our house sat on Maple Street, a modest 2-story colonial that I'd been fixing up room by room for the past 5 years. Mira complained it was taking too long, but I believed in doing things right. Tonight, that attention to detail was going to pay off in ways she couldn't imagine. I pulled into the driveway and sat for a moment, looking at the house where we'd planned to raise kids and grow old together. Those plans had started falling apart around year 3, when Mira decided she wanted a different kind of life than the one we were building. The real estate license had been the beginning of the end, though I hadn't recognized it at the time. Inside, I went straight to my office and pulled out the manila folder I'd been preparing for the past 3 weeks. Everything was there: asset inventory, account statements, property documentation, and 3 copies of divorce papers that my attorney had prepared. I'd learned a long time ago that the best time to fix a problem was before it became a crisis. The boxes were already stacked in the garage, labeled and ready. I'd been packing Mira's belongings gradually, a little each day when she was at work. Nothing dramatic or destructive, just careful separation of her stuff from mine. Her clothes, her books, her collection of real estate awards, her expensive skincare products that cost more than my monthly truck payment. My phone rang. Mira again. I let it go to voicemail. The doorbell rang 20 minutes later. I opened it to find Mira standing on the porch, still in her black cocktail dress from the party. Her makeup was smudged, and she was holding her purse like a weapon. "What is wrong with you?" she demanded, pushing past me into the living room. "Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Jennifer Walsh asked if we were getting divorced." "Jennifer Walsh, Colby. She's the biggest gossip in town." "Are we?" I asked. "Getting divorced?" She stopped and stared at me. "What? You said you could leave me tonight. You said you could have a better life by morning. So I'm asking, are we getting divorced?" "I was just talking, Colby. It was girl talk. You know how that goes." "Actually, I don't. When I talk to my friends, I don't spend the evening explaining how I could do better than my wife." Mira's face flushed. "You're being ridiculous. And where's my ring?" "Still in your glass, I imagine. You might want to fish it out before the cleaning crew gets there." She opened her mouth to respond, then noticed the boxes stacked by the front door. Her expression changed from anger to confusion to something that might have been fear. "What are those?" "Your things. I thought you might need them for your better life." She walked over to the nearest box and lifted the flap. Her favorite sweaters were folded neatly inside, along with her jewelry box and the framed photo of her and her college sorority sisters. "You packed my stuff?" "Just being helpful. There's more in the garage." Mira spun around to face me, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely scared. "Colby, what are you doing? This is crazy. I didn't mean anything I said tonight. I was just venting to the girls. About how you could do better than me, about how you could leave me right now. It was just talk. Then you won't mind staying married to someone you think so little of?" She was quiet for a long moment, studying my face like she was seeing me for the first time. "You're serious about this?" "Serious. But we can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can—" I handed her the manila folder. "Divorce papers. Already filed. You'll be served officially on Monday, but I thought you might want a heads up." Her hands shook as she opened the folder. "Filed? When did you file?" "About an hour ago. Electronic filing is a wonderful thing." "An hour ago? But the party just ended. How did you—" She stopped, understanding dawning on her face. "You planned this. You've been planning this. For 3 weeks. Ever since I heard you on the phone with your sister explaining how you were too good for this marriage but couldn't figure out how to get out without looking like the bad guy." Mira sank onto the couch, still clutching the papers. "You were listening to my phone calls?" "You were having them in our kitchen. Kind of hard to miss. Colby, please, we can fix this. I know I've been difficult lately, but—" "Difficult?" I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. "Mira, you spent tonight telling your friends that being married to me was a mistake. You said you could walk away and not miss a step. So here's your chance." "But I don't want to walk away. Not really." "Then you shouldn't have said you did. In front of half the town?" She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "This is about embarrassment, isn't it? You're doing this because I embarrassed you." "No, Mira. I'm doing this because you meant every word you said tonight. The only thing you're sorry about is that I heard it." My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and smiled. "That's the courier service. They'll be here in 10 minutes to witness you receiving the papers. Purely a formality, since you already have them. But my lawyer likes to cross all the T's." "A courier? Tonight?" "I told you, I believe in doing things right." She stood up, clutching the folder to her chest. "This is insane. You can't just end an 8-year marriage because of one stupid comment at a party." "You're right. I can't end it because of one comment. But I can end it because of 8 years of comments just like that one." The doorbell rang. Through the front window, I could see a young woman in a courier uniform holding a clipboard. "That's for you," I said. Mira looked at the door, then back at me. "Colby, please, don't do this. We can work it out." "You had 8 years to work it out. Tonight you told me you didn't want to." I opened the door and let the courier in. She was professional and efficient, explaining the papers and having Mira sign for them. The whole process took less than 5 minutes. After the courier left, Mira and I stood in the living room looking at each other. She was still holding the papers, and I was wondering if I felt as calm as I appeared. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked finally. "Jennifer Walsh has a nice guest room, I hear. Or there's the Holiday Inn out by the highway. This is my house, too." "Was. Check the papers. I'm buying out your half at current market value. The check will be ready next week." "You had it appraised?" 3 weeks ago. Like I said, I believe in doing things right." She walked over to the boxes and stood there for a moment, not touching them. 8 years, Colby. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" "It meant everything to me. That's why tonight hurt so much." "I'm sorry. I really am. I know you are. But you're sorry you got caught, not sorry you said it." She picked up the smallest box, the one with her jewelry and personal items. "I'll come back for the rest tomorrow. Take your time. I'll be here." At the door, she turned back one more time. "What if I fight this? What if I don't sign the papers? Then we'll have a very public, very expensive divorce instead of a quick, quiet one. Your choice. You really have thought of everything, haven't you?" "I'm a handyman, Mira. I fix things that are broken. And when something can't be fixed, I replace it." She left without another word. I watched through the window as she loaded the box into her BMW and drove away. Then I went to the kitchen, opened a beer, and sat down at the table where I'd heard that phone call 3 weeks ago. My phone had 17 missed calls and 23 text messages, mostly from people who'd been at the party. Word was spreading fast, just like I'd known it would. By tomorrow, the whole town would be talking about how Colby Varon had dropped his wedding ring in his wife's drink and walked away. Let them talk. I had work to do. Sunday morning brought rain and Mrs. Henderson from next door, standing on my porch with a casserole dish and the hungry look of someone who smelled gossip. "Colby, dear, I heard about last night," she said, holding out the dish. "Tuna noodle casserole. Thought you might need a home-cooked meal. Mrs. Henderson had been monitoring the neighborhood's business for 40 years. She knew who was cheating, who was broke, and who was getting divorced before the people involved figured it out themselves. That's thoughtful of you, Mrs. Henderson. Thank you. Is it true what they're saying about you and Mira? Depends what they're saying. That you threw your wedding ring in her drink and walked out of the country club. I didn't throw it. I dropped it. Very gently. Her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. Oh my. And the divorce papers? Filed and served. After 8 years of marriage? Just like that? Just like that. She clucked her tongue sympathetically, but I could see her already composing the phone calls she'd make as soon as she got back to her house. Mrs. Henderson was better than the internet for spreading news in Lakeridge. After she left, I spent the morning in my workshop, rebuilding a carburetor for Tom Mitchell's boat. Tom was one of my regular customers, a retired teacher who'd rather pay me to fix his engine than buy a new one. Working with my hands helped me think, and I had a lot to think about. The divorce was just the beginning. Mira would try to control the narrative, paint herself as the victim of a cruel husband who'd humiliated her in public. She'd probably succeed with some people, but I wasn't worried about public opinion. I was worried about what came next. My phone rang around noon. The caller ID showed my brother Jake's number. Jesus, Colby, what did you do? He said without preamble. Filed for divorce. How's the weather in Chicago? Don't be a smart mouth. Sarah's sister was at that party last night. She said you made a scene. I made a statement. There's a difference. By humiliating your wife in front of half the town? By responding honestly when she said she could do better than me. Jake was quiet for a moment. She really said that? Among other things. Damn. I always thought Mira was kind of stuck up, but I didn't think she'd be that cruel. Neither did I. That's why I married her. So what now? You're really going through with this? Papers are filed, checks being cut. It's done, Jake. What about counseling? What about trying to work it out? What about 8 years of her being ashamed to be married to me? Another pause. It was that bad? It was that bad. I'm sorry, brother. I really am. Don't be sorry. Be glad I finally woke up. After I hung up, I went back to the carburetor. The tiny parts required precision and patience, qualities that had served me well in business and would serve me well in the coming weeks. Mira showed up around 3 o'clock, driving a U-Haul truck with Jennifer Walsh riding shotgun. Jennifer stayed in the truck while Mira came to the door. I'm here for my things, she said. They're ready. Need help loading? Jennifer's husband is coming with his truck for the furniture. What furniture? She handed me a list written on legal pad paper. These items. My lawyer says I'm entitled to half of everything. I scanned the list. It included the dining room set her mother had given us, the bedroom furniture, the living room couch, and the big screen TV. Your lawyer's wrong, I said. Check the papers. Everything on this list was purchased with money from my business account or given to us jointly. The settlement gives you half the cash value, not half the stuff. That's not fair. It's legal. There's a difference. I need furniture for my apartment. Buy some. You'll have plenty of money after the settlement. Her face flushed red. You're being vindictive. I'm being precise. Take your personal belongings. Leave everything else. This is my home, too. Was your home. You said you could leave it behind without missing a step, remember? Jennifer Walsh climbed out of the truck and walked over. She was a tall woman with steel gray hair and the kind of confidence that came from never having to worry about money. Colby, be reasonable, she said. Mira needs basic furniture to start over. Then she can buy basic furniture with her half of our assets. You're being petty. I'm being fair. There's a difference. Jennifer looked like she wanted to argue, but Mira put a hand on her arm. It's fine, Jen. Let's just get my clothes and personal stuff. They spent 2 hours loading boxes and suitcases. I stayed in the workshop, listening to them talk in the driveway. Jennifer was encouraging Mira to fight the settlement, to get a better lawyer, to make me pay for humiliating her. He thinks he's so smart, Jennifer said, but no judge is going to let him get away with this. I don't know, Mira replied. His lawyer is good, and technically he's not doing anything illegal. Technically legal and morally right are two different things. Maybe, but fighting him is going to cost money I don't have. Tom and I could help. No, I've been humiliated enough. I just want this over with. After they left, I walked through the house, noting what was missing. Mira had taken her clothes, her books, her bathroom supplies, and the framed photos of her family. She'd left behind the wedding pictures, the anniversary gifts, and anything else that reminded her of our marriage. The house felt different, emptier, but also cleaner somehow, like a weight had been lifted. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over. You can't treat people like this and get away with it." I deleted it without responding. Mira was entitled to her anger, but I wasn't required to listen to it. Monday morning brought my lawyer, David Chen, to the office for our scheduled follow-up meeting. David was a small, precise man who specialized in family law and had a reputation for being thorough. "The papers were served without incident," he reported. "Mrs. Varon has retained counsel." "Who?" "Patricia Moss from Grand Rapids. She's expensive, but not particularly creative. I expect she'll try to challenge the asset division, but she won't have much success." "What about the timeline?" 60 days minimum, assuming Mrs. Varon doesn't contest. If she fights it, could be 6 months or more." "She won't fight it." "How can you be sure?" "Because fighting costs money, and Mira doesn't like spending money on things that don't benefit her directly." David smiled. "You know your wife." "Ex-wife." "Soon-to-be ex-wife. The marriage isn't dissolved until the judge signs the final decree." We spent an hour going over details and contingencies. David was nothing if not thorough, and he wanted to be prepared for every possible scenario. "One more thing," he said as he packed up his briefcase. "Mrs. Varon's attorney has requested a meeting. She wants to discuss a possible reconciliation." "Not interested." I told her that, but she's persistent. Says her client is willing to make significant changes. Too late for changes. I'll communicate that to Ms. Moss. After David left, I drove to my next job, installing new kitchen cabinets for the Johnsons, a retired couple who'd lived in Lakeridge for 30 years. Mrs. Johnson met me at the door with coffee and the kind of sympathetic smile that meant she'd heard about my situation. "How are you holding up, Colby?" she asked. "I'm fine, Mrs. Johnson. Ready to get these cabinets installed. If you need to talk, Harold and I are good listeners." "I appreciate that." She didn't push, which I respected. We spent the morning working on the installation, and she kept me supplied with coffee and homemade cookies. It was the kind of normal, productive work that reminded me why I'd started my business in the first place. Around noon, Harold Johnson came in from his workshop and helped me lift the upper cabinets into place. He was 72 years old, but still strong, and he had the steady hands of someone who'd spent his life working with tools. "Heard you and Mira are splitting up," he said without preamble. "That's right. Sorry to hear it." "I'm not." He looked at me sideways. "Really? Really. Sometimes the best thing you can do for a broken situation is to stop trying to fix it." 45 years I've been married to that woman," he said, nodding toward the kitchen where his wife was preparing lunch. "Some days I wanted to throw in the towel." "What stopped you?" "She never gave me a good enough reason. Sounds like Mira did." "She did." "Then you're doing the right thing." We finished the installation by mid-afternoon. The Johnsons were pleased with the work, and Harold paid me in cash, as always. As I was loading my tools, Mrs. Johnson came out with a plate wrapped in aluminum foil. "Leftover pot roast," she said. "No sense cooking for one person." "Thank you. That's very kind." "Colby? For what it's worth, I never thought she was good enough for you." I drove home thinking about the Johnsons and their 45-year marriage. They'd built something together, something that lasted. Mira and I had built nothing except resentment and disappointment. The house was quiet when I got home. No messages on the answering machine, no texts on my phone. For the first time in years, I had an evening with no obligations, no arguments, and no one to disappoint. I heated up Mrs. Johnson's pot roast and ate it while watching the news. The lead story was about the auto plant possibly reopening, which would bring jobs back to Lakeridge. Good news for the town, but it wouldn't change anything for me. My business was steady, my divorce was proceeding, and my life was finally moving in a direction I could control. At 9 o'clock, I called my brother Jake. "How's the newly single life?" he asked. "Quiet." "Good quiet or bad quiet?" "Good quiet, very good quiet." "Any regrets?" "Only that I waited so long." "What's next?" "Finish the divorce, grow the business, maybe take that fishing trip to Canada we've been talking about." "I'd like that." "Me too." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. After I hung up, I sat on the porch and watched the sun set over Lakeridge. The town was settling into evening, porch lights coming on, families gathering for dinner. It was peaceful in a way I'd forgotten was possible. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Mira's lawyer would probably try to complicate things, and the town gossips would keep the story alive for weeks. But tonight, for the first time in years, I was exactly where I wanted to be. 2 weeks later, I was replacing a water heater for the Hendersons when Mira called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. We need to talk, she said without preamble. We have lawyers for that. This is personal, Colby. Please. I finished connecting the gas line before responding. What do you want to talk about? Us, our marriage, the possibility of working things out. There's nothing to work out. The papers are filed. Papers can be withdrawn. Not these papers. She was quiet for a moment. Can we at least meet? One conversation. That's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at Frankie's Diner, a neutral location where half the town ate breakfast and the other half ate lunch. Frankie's had been serving the same menu for 30 years, and the coffee was strong enough to wake the deceased. Mira was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth and nursing a cup of coffee. She looked different. Tired, maybe, or stressed. Her usually perfect makeup was subdued, and she was wearing jeans instead of her typical business attire. Thank you for coming, she said as I slid into the opposite seat. You've got 15 minutes. I've been thinking about what you said, about 8 years of comments like the one at the party. And? You were right. I have been critical. I have been ungrateful. I took you for granted. Frankie himself came over to take my order. He was a large man with thick arms and a permanent scowl who'd been running the diner since before I was born. Coffee, Colby? Please? Heard about you and the missus. Sorry for your trouble. Thanks, Frankie. After he left, Mira continued. I want to change. I want to be a better wife. Why? Because I love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of being married. You love having someone to pay half the bills and fix things around the house, but you don't love me. That's not true. When's the last time you asked about my work? When's the last time you showed any interest in what I do for a living? She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. When's the last time you introduced me to someone without apologizing for what I do? I never apologized. You always qualify it. This is my husband Colby. He's in construction. Or he has his own business. You never just say I'm a handyman because you're embarrassed by it. I'm not embarrassed. You told Jennifer Walsh that you wondered what you were thinking when you married me. I was venting. I was frustrated. About what? About me providing a steady income? About me fixing everything that breaks in our house? About me being faithful and reliable and boring? Frankie brought my coffee and retreated without comment. The diner was busy with the lunch crowd, but our corner booth felt isolated from the general conversation. I made a mistake, Mira said. I got caught up in the real estate world. All those successful people with their big houses and expensive cars. I started thinking I deserved that kind of life. You do deserve it, just not with me. What if I quit real estate? What if I found a different job? Then you'd resent me for making you give up your career. Not if it was my choice. It wouldn't be your choice, Mira. It would be damage control. She reached across the table and touched my hand. I miss you. You miss having someone to blame for your disappointments. That's cruel. It's honest. There's a difference. She pulled her hand back. So that's it? 8 years of marriage and you won't even try to work it out? I tried for 8 years. You tried for about 8 minutes just now, and it didn't work. Because you won't let it work. Because it can't work. We want different things, Mira. You want a successful husband who can give you the lifestyle you think you deserve. I want a wife who's proud to be married to me. Neither of us is going to get what we want from this marriage. She started crying then, not the angry tears from the night I'd served her with papers, but quiet, defeated tears that made her look younger and more vulnerable. I am proud of you, she whispered. No, you're not. And that's okay. You shouldn't have to pretend to be proud of something that doesn't impress you. What about counseling? What about it? We could try couples therapy, work through our issues. Our issues aren't psychological, Mira. They're fundamental. You think you married beneath you, and I think I married someone who doesn't respect me. Therapy can't fix that. So you're just giving up? I'm accepting reality. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. I never said I married beneath me. You didn't have to say it. You've been showing me for years. How? By apologizing for me to your friends. By pushing me to expand my business into something more respectable. By suggesting I go back to school, get a degree, become someone different than who I am. I was trying to help you reach your potential. I've reached my potential. I'm good at what I do. I make decent money, I have satisfied customers, and I enjoy my work. But that's not good enough for you. It could be good enough. No, it couldn't. And it shouldn't have to be. You should marry someone who already meets your standards, not someone you hope to change. Frankie came by to refill our coffee cups. The lunch crowd was thinning out, and the diner was getting quieter. The The settlement offer is fair, I said. You'll have enough money to start over, find someone who can give you what you're looking for. I don't want someone else. Yes, you do. You just don't want to be the bad guy who left her husband for someone better. That's not true. Then why did you tell your sister you couldn't figure out how to get out of this marriage without looking like the villain? Her face went white. You heard that. I heard it. I was just frustrated. I didn't mean... You meant every word, just like you meant what you said at the party. She stared down at her coffee cup. So you're punishing me for being honest about my feelings. I'm freeing you to pursue those feelings. There's a difference. By humiliating me in public? By responding honestly when you humiliated me in public. I didn't mean to humiliate you. But you did. And more importantly, you didn't care that you did. She was quiet for a long time, turning her coffee cup in slow circles on the table. Finally, she looked up at me. What if I sign the papers? What if I don't fight the settlement? Then we'll be divorced in 60 days, and you can start your new life. Will you hate me? I don't hate you now. But you don't love me either. No, I don't. She nodded slowly. I guess that's my answer. I guess it is. She gathered her purse and jacket. I'll call my lawyer this afternoon. Tell her I'm accepting the settlement. That's probably best. Colby? Yeah? I really am sorry. About everything. I know you are. After she left, I sat in the booth for another 20 minutes, drinking coffee and watching the traffic pass by on Main Street. Frankie came over and sat down across from me. Rough conversation? He asked. Necessary conversation. She's a beautiful woman. Yes, she is. But beauty ain't everything. No, it's not. My wife ain't much to look at, Frankie said, but she's been proud to be married to a short-order cook for 26 years. That's worth more than beauty. Yes, it is. You'll find someone who appreciates what you got to offer. Maybe. Right now, I'm just focused on getting through the divorce. That's smart. One thing at a time. I paid for the coffee and drove home. The house felt different now that I knew the divorce was really happening. Not empty, exactly, but ready for something new. That evening, David Chen called to confirm that Mira's lawyer had contacted him about accepting the settlement. She's not going to fight it, he asked. She's not going to fight it. Good. We should have final papers within 60 days. What do I need to do? Nothing. Just wait for the judge to sign the decree. After I hung up, I went out to the workshop and started planning my next project. The Hendersons had asked me to build them a deck, and I wanted to get the design right. It was good to have work to focus on, something productive to do with my hands and my time. The phone rang twice that evening, both calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I let them go to voicemail. The first was from someone wanting to sell me insurance. The second was from Mira. I just wanted you to know that I signed the papers, she said. My lawyer will file them tomorrow. I also wanted to thank you for meeting with me today. I know you didn't have to do that. I hope you find someone who makes you happy, Colby. I really do. I deleted the message and went to bed early. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities. Tonight, I was content to sleep peacefully in my own house, in my own bed, without having to worry about disappointing anyone or being disappointed by anyone else. The divorce was almost over. My new life was about to begin. 6 weeks after the papers were signed, Judge Patricia Williams made my divorce official with the stroke of a pen. I wasn't in the courtroom when it happened. David Chen handled the formalities while I was installing new gutters for the Pattersons on Oak Street. Congratulations, David said when he called with the news. You're officially a free man. How does it feel? Asked Tom Patterson, who'd been helping me hold the ladder. Like Tuesday, I said. But that wasn't entirely true. It felt like the end of something that had been dragging on too long, like finally finishing a project that had lost its appeal halfway through. There was relief, certainly, but also a strange sense of possibility I hadn't felt in years. The settlement had been finalized exactly as I'd proposed. Mira received half the value of our joint assets, about $43,000, plus her car and personal belongings. I kept the house, the business, and my truck. Clean, simple, and fair. Mira had moved to Grand Rapids, according to Mrs. Henderson, who kept track of such things. She'd taken a job with a commercial real estate firm and was renting a condo near the river. We hadn't spoken since that day at Frankie's Diner, and I was content to keep it that way. You should celebrate, said Jake when he called that evening. Take a vacation, buy something expensive, do something wild. I'm thinking about expanding the workshop. That's not wild, Colby. That's practical. I like practical. What about dating? There are plenty of single women in Lakeridge. I'm sure there are. But you're not interested? I'm interested in not making the same mistake twice. Jake laughed. Fair enough, but don't become a hermit. I'm not a hermit. I'm a businessman. Business was good, actually. Word had spread about my divorce, and somehow that had translated into more work. Maybe people figured a newly single man would be more available, or maybe they just felt sorry for me. Either way, my schedule was booked solid through the end of the year. The Henderson's deck project was my biggest job yet, a wraparound design that would triple their outdoor living space. Harold Henderson had specific ideas about how it should look, and his wife had specific ideas about how it should function. My job was to make both visions work together. Marriage is about compromise, Harold told me as we laid out the frame. She wants a place for her flower pots. I want a place for my grill. You're giving us both. That's the idea. Same principle applies to everything. Give a little, get a little. What if one person is always giving and the other person is always taking? Harold stopped working and looked at me. Then it's not a marriage. It's a business arrangement with one very bad contract. We worked in comfortable silence after that, measuring and cutting and fitting pieces together. There was something satisfying about building something from scratch, watching it take shape under your hands. It was honest work that produced honest results. Around noon, Mrs. Henderson brought us sandwiches and iced tea. She was a small, energetic woman who'd taught third grade for 30 years before retiring. How are you adjusting to single life? She asked. Fine, quieter than I expected. Quiet can be good. Gives you time to think. What am I supposed to be thinking about? What you want to do next? I want to finish your deck, she laughed. After the deck, Colby, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? It was a good question. For 8 years, my life had been shaped by Mira's expectations and disappointments. Now I could shape it myself, but I wasn't sure what that looked like. That evening, I drove out to the lake and parked at the public access point. Lakeridge was built around Crystal Lake, a natural body of water that drew tourists in the summer and provided ice fishing in the winter. The lake was quiet now, with just a few boats anchored near the far shore. I sat on the hood of my truck and watched the sun set over the water. It was peaceful in a way that reminded me why I'd chosen to stay in Lakeridge when other people my age were moving to bigger cities. This was home, for better or worse. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Heard about your divorce. If you ever want to grab a drink and talk, I'm around. Kelly Morrison. We'd gone to high school together, and she'd been divorced for about 2 years. She worked at the bank downtown and had always been friendly when I made deposits. I'd never thought about her romantically, but then again, I hadn't thought about anyone romantically for a long time. I texted back, thanks for the offer. Maybe sometime. She responded immediately. How about Friday? Rusty Anchor, 7 o'clock? The Rusty Anchor was a bar and grill on the north side of town, the kind of place where locals went to drink beer and watch sports. It wasn't fancy, but it was comfortable. Sure, I texted back. Friday came faster than I expected. I finished work early, went home to shower and change clothes, and found myself standing in front of my closet wondering what to wear. It had been a long time since I'd dressed for a date, if that's what this was. I settled on khakis and a button-down shirt. Nothing too formal, but cleaner than my usual work clothes. The face in the bathroom mirror looked older than I remembered, with lines around the eyes and gray starting to show at the temples. 41 years old and starting over. The Rusty Anchor was busy for a Friday night, filled with the usual mix of factory workers, retirees, and young couples. Kelly was already there, sitting at a high-top table near the bar. She waved when she saw me, and I made my way over. You clean up nice, she said with a smile. Thanks, you look great. She did look great. Kelly had always been pretty in a natural, understated way, with brown hair and green eyes and the kind of smile that made you feel welcome. Tonight she was wearing a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes. How does it feel to be officially single? She asked after we'd ordered drinks. Honestly, pretty good. No regrets? None so far. I remember when my divorce was finalized, I felt like I could breathe again for the first time in years. What happened, if you don't mind me asking? He cheated, multiple times with multiple women. I kept forgiving him because I thought that's what wives were supposed to do. I'm sorry. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me. I just wish I'd figured it out sooner. We talked for 2 hours, covering everything from high school memories to current events to our respective divorce experiences. Kelly was easy to talk to, funny without being sarcastic, and genuinely interested in what I had to say. What's next for you? She asked as the evening wound down. More of the same, I guess. Build the business, finish some projects around the house. That's it? What else should there be? I don't know. Travel, hobbies, romance. Romance is overrated, says the man who just got out of a bad marriage. Says the man who learned his lesson, she laughed. You're cynical. I'm realistic. There's a difference between being realistic and giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm being selective. Good. Because there are some of us out here who appreciate a good man when we find one. I walked her to her car in the parking lot. It was a clear night, and the stars were visible despite the glow from the streetlights. I had a nice time, she said. So did I. Want to do it again sometime? Yeah, I'd like that. She kissed me on the cheek before getting in her car. Call me. I drove home thinking about the evening, about Kelly, about the possibility of starting something new with someone who understood what it was like to be disappointed by marriage. It wasn't love at first sight or overwhelming passion, but it was something. A beginning, maybe. The house was dark and quiet when I got home. I sat on the porch for a while, listening to the sounds of the neighborhood settling into night, dogs barking, televisions playing, the occasional car passing by. For the first time in years, I was looking forward to tomorrow. 3 months after my divorce was finalized, I was having coffee with Kelly at her kitchen table when she asked the question I'd been dreading. What are we doing, Colby? Having coffee. You know what I mean. I did know what she meant. We'd been seeing each other regularly for 2 months, going to dinner, watching movies, talking on the phone. It was comfortable and easy, but we hadn't defined what it was. We're taking it slow, I said. How slow? Glacial. She laughed, but there was frustration in it. I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm asking if we're dating or just hanging out. What's the difference? Dating implies a future. Hanging out is just passing time. I looked around her kitchen, which was warm and inviting in a way my house had never been. Kelly had a gift for making spaces feel like home, with plants on the windowsill and photos on the refrigerator and the kind of lived-in comfort that came from actually enjoying your surroundings. I like spending time with you, I said. But I'm not sure I'm ready for anything serious. Define serious. Expectations, obligations, disappointment. So you want all the benefits of a relationship with none of the responsibilities? I want to not mess up something good by rushing into something complicated. Kelly sipped her coffee and studied my face. You're scared. I'm cautious. You're scared that I'll turn out to be like Mira. Aren't you scared I'll turn out to be like your ex-husband? No. Why not? Because you've never lied to me. You've never made promises you couldn't keep. You've never pretended to be someone you're not. Give me time. Colby, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be present. I am present. Physically, yes. Emotionally, you're still protecting yourself. She wasn't wrong. I was protecting myself, keeping enough distance to avoid getting hurt again. The problem was that the distance also prevented anything real from developing. What do you want from me? I asked. I want you to stop treating this like it's temporary. What if it is temporary? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But right now, you're so worried about it ending that you won't let it begin. My phone rang before I could respond. The caller ID showed Harold Henderson's number. I should take this, I said. Colby, we've got a problem, Harold said without preamble. The deck is sagging on the north side. Sagging how much? Enough to notice. Can you come take a look? I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and looked at Kelly. I have to go. Work emergency. Of course you do. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Go fix your deck. Kelly, go. We'll finish this conversation later. I drove to the Hendersons' house, wondering if I'd just made a crucial mistake. Kelly was right about me keeping distance, but she was wrong about why. It wasn't just fear of getting hurt. It was fear of hurting someone else. The deck problem turned out to be minor. A support beam had shifted slightly, creating a small gap that made the structure feel unstable. It took me an hour to fix it properly, but Harold insisted on helping, which meant it took twice as long as it should have. Everything okay with you today? He asked as we tightened the last bolt. Why? You seem distracted. Just thinking. About Kelly Morrison? I looked at him in surprise. How did you? Small town, people talk. She's a good woman. I know she is. But I'm not sure I'm ready for a good woman. Harold sat down on the deck railing and wiped his hands on a rag. You know what my biggest regret is? What? Waiting 2 years to ask my wife to marry me, I was so worried about making a mistake that I almost lost the best thing that ever happened to me. What changed your mind? She told me she was tired of waiting for me to figure out what I wanted. Said if I couldn't make a decision, she'd make it for me. What did you do? Proposed the next day, 46 years ago this October. That's different. You knew you loved her? Did I? Or did I just finally decide to stop being afraid of loving her? I thought about that conversation all the way home. Harold had a point. There was a difference between not being ready for love and being afraid to try. Kelly's car was in my driveway when I got home. She was sitting on the porch steps, still wearing the jeans and sweater she'd had on that morning. Deck fixed? She asked. Deck fixed. Good, we need to talk. I figured. She followed me into the house and sat down on the couch. I sat across from her in the recliner, maintaining distance even now. I've been thinking about what you said, she began, about not being ready for anything serious. And I think you're right. Oh, not because you're not ready for a relationship, because you're not ready for this relationship. I don't understand. You're still comparing me to Mira, still waiting for me to disappoint you or criticize you or make you feel like you're not good enough. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you told me about a project you were proud of? When's the last time you shared something personal without me having to drag it out of you? I'm not good at talking about myself. You're not good at trusting people with yourself. There's a difference. She was right, and we both knew it. I'd been holding back, keeping the conversation light, avoiding anything that might reveal too much about what I wanted or needed or feared. So what are you saying? I asked. I'm saying I care about you, but I can't be in a relationship with someone who's still in love with his ex-wife. I'm not in love with Mira. No, but you're still letting her define what you think relationships should be. You're still letting her voice in your head tell you that you're not good enough. And if I stop listening to that voice, then maybe we can try this for real. And if I can't, then we stay friends and you work on yourself until you're ready to be with someone who actually appreciates you. She stood up and walked to the door. I'm not giving you an ultimatum, Colby. I'm just telling you what I need. Which is? A partner, not a project. Someone who's present and engaged and willing to take a chance on something good. After she left, I sat in the living room for a long time, thinking about what she'd said. The house was quiet, except for the sound of the refrigerator humming and the occasional car passing by outside. Kelly was right about Mira's voice in my head. Even divorced, even free, I was still letting my ex-wife's opinions shape how I saw myself, still believing, on some level, that I wasn't quite good enough for someone to be proud of. I went to the workshop and pulled out the plans for my next project, a custom entertainment center for the Johnsons. It was intricate work, requiring precision and patience, but I was good at it. I'd built a successful business doing work I enjoyed for people who appreciated it. That was worth being proud of. That was worth sharing with someone who cared. I called Kelly. Hi, she said, and I could hear the caution in her voice. I want to tell you about the entertainment center I'm building for the Johnsons. Okay. It's got hidden compartments for cable boxes and gaming systems, adjustable shelves for different sized equipment, and a pull-out drawer for remotes and accessories. That sounds complicated. It is. But I figured out how to make it work, and it's going to be beautiful when it's finished. You sound proud of it. I am proud of it. Good. You should be. Kelly? Yeah? I want to try this for real. Are you sure? No, but I want to try anyway. She was quiet for a moment. That's all I was asking for. I know. I'm sorry it took me so long to figure that out. It's okay. Some things are worth waiting for. Even glacially slow things? Especially glacially slow things. I smiled for the first time in hours. Want to come over for dinner tomorrow? I'll cook. You cook? I'm learning. I'd love to. After I hung up, I went back to the workshop and started cutting wood for the entertainment center. It felt good to work with my hands, to create something useful and beautiful from raw materials. For the first time since my divorce, I was looking forward instead of backward. It felt like the beginning of something worth building,